Welcome citizens, it's Matt from Madrealm Gaming, and today we're discussing the differences between all of the currently available starter ships under $100. Before we get started, I'd like to thank all of my subscribers and especially my patrons over on Patreon. Your support is what allows me to keep this channel going, and I really appreciate that. There are many different ships available to new players entering the verse, and selecting the correct starting ship can be a stressful decision for some. After all, this is the only ship that most people will pledge for. Rest assured, we will take a look at each ship's stats, how its flight model handles, which missions it allows you to complete, and what kind of role they all fit into. I purchased each one of these ships in-game to make sure I'm delivering my information from first-hand experience, plus I've compared all of their stats over on Urkel.games. All ship stats are being compared using the largest attrition repeaters in all weapon slots, and the highest quantity of missiles available for each rack with the highest DPS, so we can get a relative idea of what difference to expect. All other components are left as stock, and if you're new to the game and my video helps you make your buying decision, you can always help me out by using my referral code here on screen or in the description below. As always, please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Starting with the ship I actually selected as my first, we have the Aurora MR. Coming in at $45 with 3 SCU of cargo space, 3,990 hull points, and 583 liters of quantum fuel, it has the basic components loadout of most small ships with 1 power plant, 2 shields, 2 coolers, and it boasts 4 size 1 weapons with 1 size 2 missile hardpoint. This gives it a maximum DPS of 1,106 for the weapons, and a missile payload of 5,848 at max. An entry-level ship in its truest form, the Aurora is clearly meant to be able to fill any role in a pinch, but really doesn't excel at anything. With a very small but accessible cabin, it is the easiest way to get a ship with a bed, and the combination of a small cargo hold and interior space means you can do cargo and box missions. Sure, you don't have a lot of cargo space and have the smallest quantum tank in game, but the Aurora does allow you the widest range of content at the lowest cost for entry. The flight model handles a little sluggish but still performs decent in a fight and while low flying, just don't expect top racer performance. After outfitting all 4 weapon slots to your preferred loadout and upgrading your shields, you can do a pretty good job of completing the low-end ECN alerts and low-risk target bounties, plus illegal surveillance contracts. This allows you to farm up to another ship pretty quickly despite being on the low end of performance. 2 size 1's missiles means you can occasionally burst down one target very quickly, and against most small NPC ships you should be able to take them down consistently with practice. Even Cutlass Blacks will become a fairly easy target as an experienced pilot. Anything larger than that, however, and your weapons will feel pretty useless. If this ship interests you, and you're on the fence for the Mustang, this is a great choice for those who aren't looking for a lot of dogfighting initially. The Mustang is a ship that took a while to grow on me, but I can definitely see the reason people choose this as their starter. At $45 as well, with 4 SCU of cargo space, 5,500 hull points, and 583 quantum fuel, it also has the typical component loadout of a small ship with 1 power plant, 2 shields, and 2 coolers. The difference here is the Mustang Alpha does not have a missile payload and has 2 size 1 and 2 size 2 weapons. This gives you a maximum DPS of 1,374, which is pretty good. The big advantage to this is the 2 size 2 weapons on the front are on a turret, which means that they get a fixed weapon bonus, plus you can operate them in gimbaled mode. As you can see, the Mustang has tended to be able to fight back much better than the Aurora. The lack of rocket pods or missile launchers does leave a bit to be desired on the Alpha Strike, but the maneuverability does a great job of making up for the lack of burst damage, and for NPC bounty hunting, the ship can really stand up to most targets you will encounter, even into medium risk targets and the higher pay ECN alerts. With only 2 size 2 weapons for its largest guns, you will come into some problems as soon as you run into the larger ships like Freelancers that have 2 size 2 shields, and the regeneration rate can sometimes outperform your DPS. The Mustang is noticeably more agile than the Aurora in all environments and is far easier to control in atmosphere. The Alpha also trades the Aurora's bed and interior space for improved dogfighting capabilities and a stronger hull. This is the starter I would recommend for somebody entering the game on a tight budget with a strong interest in ship combat. Moving on to our next ship, a sturdy little transport shuttle, we have the Pisces C8X. Coming in at $60 with 4 SCU of cargo, 3,250 hull points, and an expanded quantum tank at 645 liters. The Pisces does unfortunately trade off 1 shield, leaving it with 1 power plant, 1 shield, and 2 coolers. It comes in with the same weapons payload as an Aurora MR, with 4 size 1 weapons and 2 size 1 bespoke missiles. Now, after comparing the 2 previously mentioned ships and this ship, both on paper and in game, I really wouldn't consider this a starter ship. It comes in with a minimal amount of shielding, worse speed and maneuverability than the Aurora, bespoke size 1 missiles, no jump drive, no bed, and the same cargo space as a Mustang Alpha. Given there are 2 passenger seats in the back and a very small cargo hold, this ship is obviously intended as a shuttle or a small resupply ship for a carrack or larger vessel that it can fit inside of. Completing bounties with this was very slow and difficult due to a weak weapons loadout and poor maneuverability combined. Considering this ship also comes in with the lowest HP of this list and only has 1 shield to protect it, there's very little this ship can do in a fight. Where the ship does have a solid strength would be in starting the path of illegal cargo runs. If I were to upgrade components on this ship, I would swap it over to an all-stealth loadout and focus on drug smuggling gameplay. It does handle fairly well in atmosphere and has a nice visual aesthetic, but you can easily earn this ship in-game. It does boast a larger quantum fuel tank, but for just $5 more you can get one of the 2 previously mentioned ships and the Squadron 42 bundle. For just $10 more, you can also jump down to the next ship here in our list. Lovingly referred to by the community as the Penguin, we have to take a look at the Avenger Titan. Coming in at $70 with 8 SCU of cargo space, 6,040 hull points, and 583 liters of quantum fuel, it also has the same amount of components as a normal small ship with 1 power plant, 2 shields, and 2 coolers. Where it excels in this loadout, however, is it has 2 size 3 weapons hardpoints and 1 size 4 weapon hardpoint, giving you a maximum sustained DPS of 2,157, which is excellent in this list. It also has 2 size 3 missile hardpoints, giving you a maximum payload of 23,393, which is pretty good. This is the first of the truly full-featured ships in this list, and it really shows once you consider everything the ship has to offer. In the future, the ship is expected to have swappable modules to let you swap the cargo hold with specialized profession bays, allowing you to attach an EMP to disable ships, or stalker prisoner cells so you can round up multiple captured bounties in one trip. This ship is tough, can fit small ground vehicles like the buggy, hover bikes, or soon-to-arrive motorcycles, packs a solid punch with its weapons payload, and has living quarters for extended trips. The Titan does have a somewhat disappointing quantum range due to the small tank size, and the addition of an accessible cargo hold in the back opens up your ship to the possibility of unwanted passengers. It also has a pretty decent flight model when in atmosphere, but you're definitely trading the mobility of most starter ships for strong weapon hardpoints and the toughest hull of all of its competitors. Many people say that the Avenger Titan is the best all-around starter ship, especially for the cost. It could benefit from being more maneuverable, and it's a bit of a large target for a starter ship, but the Titan is an excellent option if it fits within your budget, and absolutely one of my top recommendations for new players. Designed specifically as a starter pack for those looking forward to combat-focused gameplay, we have the Anvil Arrow. Coming in at $90 with no cargo hold, 4,180 hull points, and 583 liters of quantum fuel, this ship also has the same component issue as the Pisces, where it has 1 power plant, 1 shield, and 2 coolers. It makes up for this with 3 size 3 weapon hardpoints, 2 size 2 missiles, and 2 size 3 missile hardpoints, giving it a maximum DPS of 1,849 and a missile payload of 35,000. This is pretty good damage and an excellent missile payload. Our first real option for a glass cannon and a solid choice for someone looking for an entry point into PvP or a really strong PvE vessel. Though it only has 1 shield, the Arrow is an extremely agile fighter with a very small profile, even when looking at it from above. When in the hands of a skilled pilot, an Arrow's shields will rarely go critical. It really feels like a cockpit with weapons attached sometimes, and in a good way. Those who can push this ship with great skill often spend so little time in their enemy's sights that 1 shield is all they need. With a wide range of weapon options granted by the 4 customizable missile hardpoints, swappable remote turret on top, and a variety of fixed and gimbaled weapon options, you can really make sure you're built out to handle most targets you'll encounter. Constellations and freelancers struggle very hard to deal with an Arrow circling them. The flight model for this ship is great, granting excellent control in and out of atmosphere, and all of this combines to make for a ship with a really high skill cap. Though this is not a ship I would recommend to most new players, if you're here for ship combat overall and looking to dive into the PvP side of things, you'll be very happy with this choice. Last, but certainly not least, we have the incredibly versatile space truck, the Consolidated Outlands Nomad. Coming in at $95 with 24 SCU of cargo space, 5,800 hull points, and 771 liters of quantum fuel, this ship also has more components than a small ship typically does, boasting 1 power plant, 3 shields, 2 coolers, and a utility mount on the rear, plus 3 size 3 weapons and 8 size 2 bespoke missiles. This gives it a great DPS of 1,849, equal to the Arrow, and a missile payload of 31,151, which is also great. Now I'm going to have to admit, it took quite a bit of gameplay for this ship to grow on me. The exterior leaves a lot to be desired at first glance, and the idea of an exposed cargo grid is definitely a big red flag for a lot of players. But it's when you start to analyze this ship objectively that it truly shines. With 3 times the cargo space and equivalent hull strength of a Titan, similar weapon capabilities to an Arrow, and an interior that supports long trips, the largest fuel tanks of the starters, and hover tech for landing gear, there's a lot working for the Nomad to justify its position at this end of the spectrum. Once I swapped out the paint job for something different, I was in love. This is my current choice for starter ship, though the Titan is a very close second. It may have the extra risk of an accessible cargo grid, but with a utility mount on the back and a large enough space to fit most ground vehicles, the trade-off is worth the risk. With plenty of shielding to protect you while you run away from more dangerous ships in the verse, you also have the strength to fight back against most smaller targets. Here I am with just 2 size 2 weapons and the default loadout taking on some medium risk targets. With a strong build and an experienced pilot, even high risk targets would be very doable in this ship. Versatility is this ship's strong point, and if I were to aim for under $100 in total sunk cost for Star Citizen, this is the ship I would recommend over all of the rest. Now that we've covered all the starter ships, I'd like to know your thoughts below. Did you think I was too harsh on the Pisces? Do you disagree with my pick on the Nomad being the best? I'll be working on some more videos like this soon, comparing and contrasting multiple similar ships, and if you'd like to see more of that, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you know when you're getting that next video. Of course, thank you very much to my patrons over on Patreon, and thank you for stopping by everybody. I'll see you in the next one.